मॉर्निंग जेंटलमैन, गुड मॉर्निंग। मैं हूं आपका दोस्त मदन सिंह एंड लेट अस टॉक ऑन सम वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक कंसर्निंग मिस्टर मोदी, इंडिया एंड बांग्लादेश। आप जानते हो कि वर्ल्ड कप होने वाला है T20 का इन इंडिया एंड बांग्लादेश हैज सेड कि हम ये मैं टूर पे नहीं आएंगे, वी विल नॉट पार्टिसिपेट इन द वर्ल्ड कप। ऑफ कोर्स बांग्लादेश जो है हैज बीन गिवन द कार्टे ब्लांचे, यानी उनको छुट्टी कर दी है फ्रॉम द वर्ल्ड कप एंड दे विल बी रिप्लेस्ड बाय स्कॉटलैंड। पर ये क्वेश्चन सोचिए कि ये सब सिचुएशन क्यों आ गई है। हाउ इज इट कि जो बांग्लादेश है जिसको हमने आज़ादी दिलाई थी इन वे बैक इन 71, आज हिंदुस्तान का सबसे बड़ा दुश्मन बन गया और दैट कैन नॉट बी डिनाइड। और इस ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी किसकी है? आप जानते हो ग्लोबल पॉलिटिक्स को देखिए कैसे चलती है। देयर इज एन ओल्ड सेइंग इन अवर विलेजेस कि जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस। In other words, it means is whoever has the stick owns the buffalo. That is what it means. So, in effect, it means that India should have exerted itself over Bangladesh, which they never did. सबसे बड़ी पोजीशन जो इंडिया की खराब हुई है is because of the failure of our Indian intelligence. Now, Mr. Doval is supposed to be a very astute man. He's an ex-IPS officer. बट हर एक चीज़ की एक यूटिलिटी होती है एंड लाइफ लाइन होती है। मिस्टर डोबल जो अनफॉर्चुनेटली इन माई ओपिनियन हैज़ नाउ नो लॉन्गर द ओल्ड एक्यूपेन which used to take him forward, and now he's lost his sting, with the result, as the head of the Indian security and being the advisor and presiding all over the intelligence agencies, he is unable to give any feedback to the Indian cabinet about what is happening outside. He could not gauge the massive resentment which was building up against Sheikh Haseena in Bangladesh. That is number one. Number two, he could not gauge the fact that that resentment was being cultivated by the Americans when Joe Biden was the president, and they had made a plan to remove Sheikh Haseena. I will confine myself to Bangladesh because Mr. Doval even failed in Nepal. He didn't know what the hell is going to happen there. And he didn't know what's going to happen in Bangladesh. Now, the question is, once the insurrection against Bangladesh, against Sheikh Haseena had started, it was high time that Mr. Modi should have taken some stand. There was no point that he would just go around visiting all over the world, make 100 trips, and the result of which is zero, and he did not take any action in Bangladesh. It was the duty of India to save Sheikh Haseena. But Modi was sitting, I don't know where he was sitting, I don't know, maybe in Rashtrapati Bhavan in his own house or whatever it may be, but he did not take any action. That is the crux of the issue. And the revolution really picked up momentum. The army and the police sided with the agitators who attacked the house of Sheikh Haseena, who had to flee the country. And thanks to the chief of the army staff, who was a relation, she was able to escape to India. But it is a very sad commentary on the efficiency of the Indian armed forces and the efficiency of the Indian political apparatus, and of course the decision making ability of Narendra Modi. I think if you remember, I would give full marks to Rajiv Gandhi when he ordered the intervention in Sri Lanka against the LTT. Way back, I think it was in 87, when he ordered the Indian IPKF, the peacekeeping force, to move into Sri Lanka under command of Major General Harkirat Singh, and the LTT were taught a lesson which they never forgot, and it ended by their trying to, by not trying, by killing, assassinating Rajiv Gandhi. So, gentlemen, let's bear in mind that a man who is strong is respected by everybody. He's like Samson. But a man who is weak and just talking here and there, they know that this man is a pushover. And unfortunately, this is the impression being created all over the world that Bangladesh was India's backyard, and how India could really tolerate an anti-Haseena India regime there, a regime which hates India. It's one of the saddest commentaries you can think of in the world that such a thing happened. And look at the way the Americans went and removed Maduro, who was the president of Venezuela. Where is he now? He's sitting in a New York jail with handcuffs on and attending trial, criminal trial of charges against him. And at that time, when the Americans had parachuted Muhammad Yunus as the interim administrator to Bangladesh, it was the time for the Indians to react. Modi should have ordered the Indian army to make a paradrop on Dhaka cantonment and restored order there, restored Sheikh Haseena. That was the one moment when Bangladesh was weak and they didn't know what was happening. The army was silent. The agitators were running amok. The police were scared. That was the time for Modi to intervene, but he did nothing. I have to pin the blame onto Mr. Modi because when whatever happened in the 1962 war with China, we put the blame on whom? We put the blame on Pandit Nehru, and he was responsible for it. And this creation in Bangladesh now, where the Bangladesh totally hates India, and the net result is they are not bothered to come and attend even the World Cup, despite the fact that they're going to lose millions of dollars as cut money. They have taken that in stride and said, we will not play in India because of security hazards. That's just a ploy. And the ploy is that there's one of their players who was selected for the IPL by the Calcutta Knight Riders, that is Shah Rukh Khan's team, was not given his due and he was sent back home. But the question which is more important is how did this player come for the auction? Who is responsible for it? And once he had come for the auction, he'd been selected for the auction, he should have been allowed to play. Anyway, it was a question of egos, and now the situation is that Bangladesh is firmly out of India's grasp, and now I think they are thinking of themselves more and more as East Pakistan. So this is going to be a very, very dangerous situation created by the Indian government by its own will because they did not have the wherewithal, the acumen, and more important, the mettle, the guts to intervene in Bangladesh at that time when the country was in flames. And there was a legitimate excuse to intervene because the Indian Hindus, who were Hindus there, were being attacked. And you know of one Hindu being burnt alive, stripped naked, burned alive, and hung. So this thing was continuing there, and many Hindus were being attacked. And yet, what was happening in India? Nothing. Some odd statements here and there, with the Prime Minister keeping absolutely silent, like he does in case of Donald Trump. And I think the Prime Minister must explain why he didn't go for Davos, why he didn't go for the earlier 5 meetings which were being attended by Donald Trump. Why didn't he go? When he had the reputation of traveling every month abroad. I think he went number of times to the United States. Given a chance, he would just rush to the United States. He would go abroad. And now all the diplomacy, over 100 visits which he made during his 11 years, have become zero. So Bangladesh is the enemy in the backyard, and it's going to be a very, very tough enemy because they'll be tougher than Pakistan because Pakistan at least is more pragmatic and they have some affinity with the people of Punjab in India. But Bengalis, as far as they're concerned, they are die-hard Muslims who hate Hindus, unlike the Punjabi Muslims. There's a shade of a difference between them. And here we have the situation in Bangladesh, which is now in turmoil. It's in flames. Gentlemen, now what is the way forward? India lost the plot, as I told you. We didn't go ahead and do what we had to do at that time. I can't put the blame entirely on Modi, but Modi is the man who's in charge. I don't think he listens to anybody else. Who is his advisor? I think he's his own advisor. And he's the one who's been avoiding Donald Trump all the time. You can't be in the water and fight the crocodile. Can you do that? Donald Trump is a crocodile in the water, and everybody's giving him deference. Look at the way we removed Maduro, and what happened? What did the Russians and the Chinese do? Nothing. They just said, "Well, see to it that such incidents don't take place again." What the hell is this here? Big powers like Russia and China are scared of America. Why couldn't Modi just put the eggs in the basket of America and make up with America? Make use of America. That is it. Be prudent. Make use of America. Use the money. Use the technology they had. Use their influence in trying to fight on simple issues like and trying to deny that the Americans had any hand in the ceasefire which India had with Pakistan in the last war. What's the use, I say? I mean, going to mean anything? What did Mr. Modi gain out of it? I'd like to know. Well, gentlemen, I think I'm coming to the end of the video. Basically, I'm saying is that India lost the plot in Bangladesh, and it's going to be very difficult to get back there. I don't think for the next 25 years any regime will come up in Bangladesh which is going to be friendly to India. Sheikh Haseena coming back is now a pipe dream. Her party has been banned from the elections, which are to be held, I think, next month, and that is shows that it's a sham democracy in Bangladesh. And the time has come for India to crack the whip. Even now, there is ample provocation for India to intervene in Bangladesh militarily. The least they can do is to occupy the area close to the chicken's neck, and in the north, and Sylhet in the east, and in the southeast they can go and capture Chittagong. That will have a salutary effect on the Bangladesh, and Bangladesh would be then a weakened power throughout. But tomorrow, Bangladesh can become a tremendous headache for India, mind you, a tremendous headache. They can bring about insurrection in the east. They're already talking of a greater Bangladesh. Well, gentlemen, I hope the Indian leadership is wise enough to know what's happening. Well, there's nothing much I can say more, except I request that you subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends. I'm sorry that I have to make these harsh words as far as the Indian foreign policy is concerned, a total failure, absolutely. And not only that, intelligence being a total failure and lack of guts to intervene in Bangladesh. Well, goodbye and God bless.